Okay, good morning, Year Nines, or I should say afternoon, it's now noon. I just thought I'd start off by having a look at this image. I've shown you this one before, but we should be at the stage now where we're building up our drawings. So, depending obviously on what you're drawing, you should have two interlocking pencil pieces that sit next to each other. They should be maybe slightly behind or maybe slightly in front, but you should be at the point where you've put two pictures together. Now, the one that I want to concentrate on today is something that's similar to this in the background. Can you see that what we're looking at here is almost a positive negative? So you're actually looking at the shape of the object, but actually it's the background that is making the shape stand out. So today we're going to have a look at that one. Also, using this as an example, you can see some very subtle colours, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green, nothing too heavy. So we will include that. You can just see here the slight subtleness of that pink coming through, but obviously pencil still being quite dominant in this particular area of the natural diary. So we're going to be working on that. So I'm just going to switch over to my piece of paper. I'll just put you on a stand so you can see what's going on. Right, okay then. So today I'm having a look at this object here. Mr. Thompson is going to be too pleased because I've picked it out of his garden. So what I've got is some kind of pansy, and it's got a nice colour to it. It's purple, but I'm not going to over stretch on the purple today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that sort of positive negative image that we've been working on. So I've started to draw out the outline and to start doing some of this just so that you can see what's going on. Here we go. Okay, so basic outline, of the object. Okay, you can see I've included the shape of the leaves. I haven't sort of skimped too much on the detail. I still need to keep that present. So you can see that I've got a little bit of angle work going on. You can see the curves of the leaves. I've also put in the veins that you can see through here as well. Now it's this bit that starts to link with that work that we've just talked about, that positive negative. So I'm not actually putting a huge amount of effort in actually shading the flower itself. I'm shading around the outside. Now I've started this already, and you can see that my pencil work, if I get a little bit closer on that one, there we go, is more of a slightly cross-hatch effect. Okay, so it's quite linear in the way that it's added. So I'm going to do a little bit of work just whilst you're here. So I'm going to start off by being quite dark towards the object. Now, can you see how my pencil lines sort of free flow backwards and forwards, but they're still kind of going up and down, up and down. I am going darker closer to the object. Avoid putting really heavy outlines. It's not like a competition for putting sort of heavy outlines around the outside. It's putting shading around the outside. As I move away from the object, I'm going to take the pressure off my pencil. Much lighter now. And eventually, again, going in slightly different directions to get that crosshatch effect, I'm just going to fade it out. So you can see how it goes from the dark into the light. Okay, I'm going to continue that. There's a little bit of a gap there, so I'm just going to make sure that I put that dark right into that gap there. Bring it in around the object, and then again, see, you can see my lines, just lots of cross hatching, shading, easing off the pressure now because I'm going away from the object. And eventually that'll be so soft it just sort of fades into the white piece of paper. Okay, it will get a little bit tricky around some areas, so I'm just going to have to inch a little bit closer because I want to try and show that angle of those leaves. Make sure that you've got a sharpish pencil, particularly if you've got sort of some very tight detail. So again, just bringing in around that leaf, but I don't want to show any heavy outlining, so I'm just easing off now as I move out. And then you can see how that positive negative starting to build up around the object. So today's exercise is that you're actually, for the first time, you're going to work on a fresh piece of paper, okay, because you've been working on two interlocking objects. If I just take you back to the computer. So you should be at the point where you've got two interlocking objects, which were from our last two lessons, and they should be sitting side by side with, of course, the notes that you've made, observations. You don't have to know the detail of the flower, the name of the flower. If you don't know that, it's just about what can you see. Is it spiky? Is it soft? Is it bright green? Perhaps where did you find it? Don't forget to put the date on there as well. And then on a fresh piece of paper, we're now starting today's lesson looking at this positive negative. So you'll need another object if you can find another one. If not, you can use one that perhaps you have used before, but it would be quite nice maybe to try something else. And you're going to draw out the very basics of that outline. So again, here's my object, drawing out the very basics of the outlining. You can put in a little bit of information. You can see that with my particular leaf, I've got some pattern here, and then obviously I've got the lines on the leaf. I have included that, but nothing else. Okay, I just really want to try and give it a little bit of information so the viewer knows what they're looking at. And then looking at that positive, negative, pressing on a little bit harder towards the object, making sure you've got that kind of crosshatch. That crosshatch is sort of sorts of singular lines, small ones. Don't go too large, okay, because you'll find that you'll lose a bit of control on that if it goes too hard. But try and keep them quite close together so that you don't have lots of white gaps coming through, because that can cause a little bit of a problem for you, particularly closer to the object, not so further out, because you can see my objects have got my shading's got a little bit of gappage here, and that's not too much of a problem, but closer up, you want it to be a little bit more solid. So again, darker closer to the object, and then as you ease your way out, ease off the pressure. You don't have to go too far away from the object before you stop. Eventually, when I've finished, the whole of this object will be completely encapsulated in this shading that goes around the outside, so that the negative positive, where we'll be able to see the object is very much in white and the background is very much in dark, will be the finished piece. I'll be putting a new assignment folder on your page, so you'll be able to upload your work. In terms of the contact time that I will need to see that work, because we know we've talked about this before, I'll need to see that the day before our next lesson. So today, with it being Wednesday, we do not now see each other until Tuesday. So on the Monday before our lesson, I will need to have that work, and it'll be 12 noon. So if you can make sure that you upload it before then. Okay, I'm going to remain online, so you can ask me lots of questions. But in the meantime, make sure you've got a new piece of paper, make sure you've got an object, make sure obviously you've got a slightly sharpish pencil, and then you can start to create the outline. Not too much detail, just a little bit of information on there, and then start to build up that shading around that object. Okay, any questions, just type them.